So we're live, everybody. Welcome to yet another live interview show with Become a Fearless Father. And today we are accompanied by Mitch London. Mitch, thank you so much for being on, man. Thank you for taking the time. Really looking forward to this. I saw you on my friend's Kenyon Zitka's show. Oh, I listened to it, I should say, because he's the podcasting guy of the two of us. And man, I was looking forward to this. And then I saw your pictures today to, check you out, spy on you, make it I'm prepared. And I saw those pictures, man, of you and the family going, walking out in nature and stuff like that. I was like, man, this is going to be epic. Love it. So I got to start off with a question, if that's okay with you. And then we go into diving a little bit deeper on who's Mitch London. Is that all right?
Awesome. Perfect.
Cool. Let's do it. So that said, man, I see your message and I'm like, yes, absolutely. But can you share with the audience, man, why? Because you're all about wilderness, right?
Yes.
Why is this your mission? Why is it so important for everybody else to really embrace wilderness, go into the wilderness? What else can we do with it, right? Protect it. I think one of the main things as well that we're definitely not doing. So share that a little bit with us, man, because I am really interested in learning from you.
So I just returned this last weekend. We had our event up in the mountains of Colorado, is where I live. And I take guys and my family and everybody that I can out into the wilderness. And one of the things I was thinking about while I was up there is you got your phone. And when you go up into the mountains, you're not going to have cell phone service. So you put it on airplane mode and your battery stays forever. It's because you don't have all this stuff draining on you. You don't have all these apps, all these different things requiring energy from your phone. And it's the same thing for your life. If you can get away and get out into the wilderness, you're kind of unplugging. And you don't have all of these things requiring energy from you, draining you. And you actually can fill back up and you can be a better version of you while you're out there enjoying, God's creation. It's just amazing. And so it's just something I think that is needed so often, is to get out there, to enjoy the time away from the noise. I call it mental pollution, where we just get so full of crap inside of our heads that we just have to flush that out. You kind of have to hit a hard reset button. And what better place to do that than out in the wilderness?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Man, I wasn't sure if that was the right question to start off with, but your answer is definitely the right answer. But you know how that goes, right? As an interview, it's not like you're looking for an answer, but you're just hoping, like, okay, I would hope that it goes into a direction that really wakes people up. And that was definitely like, a slap in the face. Like, look, man, stop walking around. I don't even have my phone right now here. I was going to show it to you, but I'm like, I almost showed you my wallet. Like, that's not it's just empty. So that's not going to help anybody. But I was just going to say, man, just no phone, no nothing. And just you, nature, the family. There's no distractions. I mean, how many times haven't you seen when you go to the park with your kids or you walk by the park or playground or whatever it is, right? Kids are playing crazy. They don't know what a phone is yet. However, all the parents are sitting around. Some are hiding with their phone in their hand. It's such a pity. Or, families going home. What do? We go sit on the couch and watch a movie. There's still no connection, right? Well, in wilderness, there is no TV. There is no phone. There is nothing there but just you, your loved ones, and whatever beauty you're walking around, right? So you have to connect with that and with yourself and with others. I love it, man. That's such a powerful message. And I actually come up with something that I'm going to ask you later. I didn't put it in here, but we're going to talk about it because I'm wanting to know as well, what do you do to protect wilderness? But let's go into that a little bit later. So first, before we continue, because you mentioned, like, you get recharged, and there's one of the things that might not really recharge you, so we're going to talk about that as well while you're in wilderness. But anyway, Mitch, please do me a huge favor, share with us, man, what's your origin story, and most importantly, or not most importantly, but important as well for the audience, is to learn and know, what's your family setup, so we can really get a good picture of Mitch, the dadpreneur, who is he?
Yes. Well, I moved to Colorado about almost 18 years ago, actually. I'm originally from New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico area, and I came up here and I ended up meeting my wife the first weekend I was in town.
Nice.
So it didn't take me long to put down some roots and to find, just to stay. And this is where I was going to make home. We've been blessed. We've been married for almost 17 years. It'll be 17 years this November. 4 awesome kids. We've got 2 girls and 2 boys. The 2 girls are the oldest. They're 12 and 10, and the boys are 8 and 4. So we've got a full car of little bundles. And I worked most of the time, has always been in sales, and kind of got pushed off that entrepreneurial ledge. I wasn't even really looking over the ledge at the time, and had some health issues. Couldn't go to work. They couldn't allow me to come to work because of these health issues at the time. And so I really got kind of taken by the collar and shown the cliff and then over the cliff of entrepreneurship. And I built a very successful marketing company, laptop lifestyle kind of a thing. And our big passion was to live how we wanted to live once we, quote unquote, made it. But while we were doing it, I didn't want to wait for some sweet day. I was not willing to sacrifice time with family, sacrifice road trips. We were going to do it while we were creating our life. And so that was always a super important thing. We homeschool our 4 kids, so we're able to just go and be anywhere we'd like. And then I started kind of with Just Add Wilderness and really focusing on helping men figure out who they are, their purpose, their identity, their leadership, their manhood, and help them become better fathers, become better husbands, become better people in their communities and churches. And that's kind of the short version of our journey. But we're just a family that loves to be active and loves to be outside. And having this type of a business allows us the freedom to go wherever we want.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Love that, man. Help men figure out who they are as a husband, as a father, as an entrepreneur, as a human being, right? We're going to talk about that as well because it's big, right? Purpose. So I got that as well as a topic that I want to talk to you about. So you're gonna share some great insights in that, man. That's a crazy family, dude. 2 girls, 2 boys, hands full, right? So let's get into that.
So much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot 2 things, man. Look, Christopher already said hi. Thanks, Chris. I love you.
Great.
He's always here with me, cheering us on. So I love that. And I forgot something. And I hope this is okay, man. This is your website, right? Can we send everybody here?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, cool. Because I just take stuff from what I think like, oh, this is cool. People should definitely go here. I would. And then I forgot to ask you earlier when we didn't go on yet. So for all the people watching this or listening or whatever it is, right, go.justaddwilderness.com is Mitch's website. Check it out. For the people that are live right now, it's in the comment section. You can just click on the link. And while you're listening to Mitch drop more golden nuggets, you can check his website out. For the people that are listening to the podcast or the replay or watching this on YouTube, also replay, this will be in the section of all the explanations. So check it out, and we're going to continue right now. So you just mentioned 4 kids, man, and I was wondering because you also mentioned like you can really recharge when you go into wilderness. However, I mentioned this to you, right? I can also understand that you can absolutely not recharge when your kids are going absolutely berserk and nuts and crazy. And I'm just wondering, man, because you got 4 kids, all different ages. How do you make sure that everybody is enjoying what you want to do at that moment? Because as I said, it's 12 and 4, right? The oldest is 12, the youngest is 4, correct? So that's a huge age difference as well. How do you make sure that everybody enjoys it? And then you make sure that what you said earlier, like, your battery gets recharged and then your cup gets filled, right?
Well, I would say the main thing, just like with business, just like with just anything, is you have to go into a situation with the right mindset. If I wake up and I'm grumpy, then we're going to have a great time out adventuring. But if I know that, hey, he's my youngest, Hunter's his name, he's going to get tired, he's going to whine a little bit, he's going to, you just have to prepare yourself. This is going to happen so you don't react in the wrong way. Another part of it is understanding that every single one of them are complete individuals. Mm-hmm. So my oldest, she likes to be out there with us, but she's not super outdoorsy. She's more girly. She likes the pink. She likes the princess. My second daughter is super outdoorsy. She's more tomboyish. And so trying not to force somebody to be who they're not is going to help us all be happy with where we're at any time. And so just catering to that and understanding, you got to kind of sprinkle in activities that each little individual child is going to enjoy doing, so they all feel like they're getting the attention and they're not just having to, be dragged along with the rest of the family doing something they don't want to do.
Exactly. Man, that's actually, yeah, I've noticed that from my two, and I only got two, but both of them are so different.
Yes.
I was working with the first one. It's just absolutely not working whatsoever with the second one at all, right? That's why I was wondering, because one, if we would go into nature, one would be really calm and exploring and looking, and the other one would take any moment to just be like as variety as he can. I told him last time, I said, dude, man, stop trying to take the blood from my nails, man. Calm down a little bit. Would be nice for everybody. But as you said, man, they're all different. So that's why I was wondering, man, because yeah, if you have one, the oldest, she just wants to be at home and she just wants to, and then what you say, like you force them to do something they don't want to do. That's where the mess comes in. I know you mentioned you got to go in with the right mindset, but as you said, or kind of mentioned, you don't have control over your kids, right? They're each their own individual, right? Mm-hmm. So besides preparing, man, how do you take care of this at home, just to make sure that everybody gets their cup filled up? Because you got 5 people now that are in your house extra besides you, right? Because you got to fill up your own cup, which we're going to talk about as well. So how do you make sure as a husband and a dad that everybody's cup is filled up? Is it even possible with so many people in one house?
I would say the best way, which I haven't been as good at lately, but one-on-one dates. I take my girls out on dates and let them just have some special time, even if it's just as simple as going to the grocery store with just one kid, letting them come along just so they can understand and know that. But then, when you're at your house and you're doing this on your phone, if they have something to tell you, you got to set that thing down and look them in the eyes and understand and let them know that you hear them. It can't be always this, yeah, just a second, I'm busy, hang on. And I know I have to be better at that. We get so sucked in with business, with life, the phones that we're constantly staring at those screens. But it's really in kind of a family dynamic also, is we allow them to be individuals so they don't ever feel like they have to act a certain way to get our attention. Mm-hmm. So we really make it a strong point of, this is who you are, and who you are is perfect. Don't try and change that for anything. Yes, I love outdoors, and my oldest, she likes the outdoors, but she's not, as campy as I am. And so sometimes she feels like, well, I have to be that so I can make you happy. And no, honey, you be you. That's who I want you to be. That's who I love. I don't want you to try and be something else just to get attention. And so it's just very much kind of setting almost a family creed, if you will, of just, this is who you are, and we want you to be that person, and the best person that is. Don't try and change it just because this is what I like. I like you. I don't like you doing an activity. It's you that I love, and it's you that I want to be around. And so it's just really kind of helping to remind them as they're growing up. But also, I would say the fact that we travel so much, we put our kids in so many real life situations that they have much more of a capability to get in with conversations with adults. And so they communicate a lot better. They're not surprised by as many situations just because we're able to take them out into the real world and let them experience life as it actually happens.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's great advice. I had a little visit. That happens, man. We're on vacation at my parents' house, and so far, every single live interview, both of them have come. Yes. I had my live interviews where I had both of them, one on each leg, and I wasn't even talking. They were having conversations with the people that I was supposed to interview. So just so we know, we still got 45 minutes to go. Most likely, they will come in and join us, and they will tell you all about their day, which is always great fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, I appreciate you sharing that. Let's hop into what I said earlier, man, because one of the things what I really enjoy when I'm here with my parents is seeing how they are adding towards my view on multi-generational legacy, right? I just recently learned this. I was always had something in my head like, okay, I'm building this. And now recently, thanks to a guy that I interviewed, Patrick Antonucci, he had it in his Facebook saying multi-generational legacy. And I love that. And my parents are really working towards that, trying to use as less plastic as they can, eat, I guess they call it in English, ecological foods, all that kind of stuff, right? As much as they can. No waste kind of stuff, which is important for the wilderness, right? Because I don't know about you, but when we go here for a hike, there's so many people that find it necessary to throw their can or their packages of chips. I don't even understand why you have to bring chips to the wilderness, but that's beside the point, and they just throw it away, right? So we are guilty of destroying our wilderness, right? That which supposedly that's what gives us life. So I'm just wondering, man, how focused are you on this as well within regards to connecting with wilderness? And I'm very interested in knowing, are there some things that you're doing so I can learn from you and I can start implementing them as well? Maybe especially the message that you share with your kids or something like that.
Yeah, anytime that we've gone out, litter, as they're starting with little kids, they don't necessarily know about conservation. It's hard for kids to understand something when they're, young, big picture type of things. So you just break it down and you show them about trash and where does all the trash go and how do we, So a lot of my children will actually, if we see it, we'll pick it up and we have little trash bags and little things, and they will kind of collect things as we go. We're trying to plan some trips to actually go out and remove garbage and all of the trash that are in the wilderness areas. Sometimes there's certain areas where people like to go and it just ends up getting destroyed. And so we're planning with our company just at Wilderness to go out there and do some cleanup days, or all we're doing is just going out and picking up other people's garbage to make sure it stays that way. But it's just an example, and it's kind of a lifelong journey, but it's something that you have to instill early and let them know that this is not okay. We don't just throw things out the window. And they've gotten on their grandparents. Sometimes their grandparents have done some, chuck something out the window, and the kids will holler at them and say, go get that. Like, pick it up. That's not allowed. And so it's just kind of starting them small. As they get older and older, they'll figure out ways that they can be involved, but it's a belief in a core system that they've had instilled in them at a very young age, just with litter. I mean, it sounds simple. It sounds, very easy to do, but when you're talking about the world conservation aspect of it, it's hard for a 4-year-old to grasp that, but he can see that when trash is on the ground, that's not allowed. And so it's just kind of starting very simple so that that culture is developed in their hearts.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great, man, because from what I've understood, man, I got to say, I'm trying to be as conscious as possible and really work on it. And I learned a lot from them. So now, for example, we don't buy, because here in Spain, you can't drink the water from the faucet. And I used to buy bottled water, right, which is a lot of plastic. And then my parents say, look, there's this bottle, you fill it up with water from the tap, and it filters it, and you can drink it. And I'm like, freaking amazing. So now we have a lot of less plastic, which is great, right? And then my mom last time was talking about, they've calculated it's like 11 years, and then we've reached the point of no return. If we don't start, really change things around and act now, right? And that's I've never thought of that, and that's stupid, of course, but now that I'm really looking at the multi-generational legacy, it's like, ooh, yeah, I really got to act it up and talk about it with people, because, if not, maybe we still going to be okay, but our kids and our kids' kids, they're going to be, if we don't act now, that's it, they're going to be really screwed. So, man, we definitely gotta think about that. So I really appreciate you sharing that, and I think it's a great message for all dadpreneurs that are listening to this, either now live or later on. Teach your kids about nature, about garbage, trash, which is actually the simplest thing, right? ASAP. Like, doesn't matter how old they are. If they throw something away, teach them like, hey, this goes in the garbage, or which garbage can it goes to. I actually like it in the schools. They have yellow bins for the plastic, and then the other bins for the regular garbage. And I think they use blue ones, if I'm not mistaken, for paper. So they're really trying to instill it when they're young. And that, I think, is very important. So great message, man. Instill it in your kids. to protect our nature, because who else but us, right?
Well, yeah, and actually, when you're in the wilderness, it's something that stands out. So if you see a piece of garbage out in the forest, it really stands out as it's not supposed to be there. In the city, it's not as easily to identify it because it can blend in with other things, and it doesn't necessarily look as out of place. So when you talk about these things, you got a green forest and then a white trash on the ground. It's easier to make the process to say that doesn't belong there. It doesn't belong like this. These things don't fit together, and help to understand that connection of why that is, not an appropriate place for it to be.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you iterating on that. So let me ask you, man, because you mentioned like, you got pushed off a cliff into entrepreneurship, right? So you're a dadpreneur. That's why I wanted you on the show. I love your message as well with the whole wilderness, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well. But what's your philosophy, or what does it mean for you to be a dadpreneur?
That's the way I think it should be. I mean, most family scenarios, the dad was always working. The dad was the one that was typically the one that didn't get to experience all of the things with the children. If the spouse was home, it was usually the father that was away. That was kind of how it has been for many, many, many generations on that. And I wanted to be a major part of my kids' lives, and I wanted to help be that rudder to help steer them through the different trials that they have. And so it was always a goal to homeschool our kids, so we could be the ones sowing into our children, and we could be the ones to help watch them make the mistakes and help them learn from mistakes and help them make mistakes in a place where they're not going to feel shame about it, and it's something that they can overcome and build their self-confidence through it. But owning a business like this and being a dadpreneur is huge, because it's also an example of showing children that we tell them all the time as a kid, you can do anything you want to do. But then we send them into a system that doesn't necessarily follow that. And so as a dadpreneur, I can literally look them in the eye and say, I had a dream and a vision and I did it. This is what I want for you too. I want you to dream big. I want you to have great ideas, and I want you to chase it. And I want you to figure out the ones that you love and the ones that you don't like. And it's hard for me to instill that kind of a lifestyle on them if I'm not living it myself. And so it's super important, to kind of step up, be that example. But then you also get a chance to show them and involve them. And so you mentioned your children coming in on your phone calls and your interviews, and I have the same thing. They'll jump in. They always want to see who I'm talking to. When I'm doing some marketing things, I'll ask their ideas, see if they like certain designs or different, just to kind of get their brains and their creative juices flowing, and see that it's super fun. And what you can do is you can build a business out of anything these days. You got an idea and you could turn it into a company and completely change your life, your family's life. Like you said, legacies. So multi-generational legacies starts with somebody being an example.
Yep, true that, man. Well said. Sorry, man, it's too hot today. I'm sweating. Sorry, people. It happens. Yeah, but I completely agree with you with in regards to how you say about the dadpreneur. That's why I stepped into this. And yes, everybody should. However, I can also understand that some people just don't want to, right? And then that's okay too. But I love the fact that there is no excuse. Like anybody that wants to be, like truly wants to be a dadpreneur and wants to spend that time with their kids, the day and age that we live in, it is possible, right?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say it's easy,
no,
but it's simple. It's not easy, right? Being a dadpreneur is not easy at all, but it's simple. Like it's possible. So we just want to share that because I think that's an important message. What would you say as a dadpreneur? Let's talk first about challenge, right? What would you say is has been or is still one of your biggest challenges for being a dadpreneur?
Well, when you're your own boss, it's the blessing and the curse is because you're accountable only to you and your family, and it's easy to give yourself a pass, let yourself off the hook, and to keep yourself focused can be a big challenge. To keep yourself, the day can get away when the kids really want to play, or it's gorgeous outside, or it's too hot, you just need to get to the water. It's super easy to want to leave what you should be doing and go play and go do these things. And so too many of those compounded days off can spell trouble for any business or any business owner. And so there's finding that balance, and finding the balance that works not only for me, but works for my wife and works for my children, and figuring out where that medium ground, where that peaceful area is, I think is the hardest thing, because most entrepreneurs, we like to get in and get things done. And so we want to be working, and we want to dig in, and we want to do well for our clients, and we want to do well for our business. And it's very easy to try and give that too much attention and not as much attention to your family. And so I didn't create this so I could sit in an office all day and stare at my computer screen all day. I created this, and I'm very, very intentional with the number of clients that I take on. I'm very intentional with the programs that I create and the offerings that I do, to make sure that that balance is there, that my wife and I, we can go have date nights and not have to worry about too many deadlines happening all at once. That in about 3 weeks, my family, we're going to take all of my family, my kids, and my wife's parents on a 15-day road trip. We're just going to hop in the car with no real agenda. We just know a few awesome spots we want to see along the way. We're going to go exploring and check things out. If I build my agency or my business so much to where I can't step away, or I have so many urgent messages hitting all the time, it steals my joy, and I can't enjoy being with my family or enjoying being out there. So creating that kind of rhythm in your life that really allows you to live the way you want to live, but also serve the people that you're serving, you have to find that balance. It can't be weighted one way or another. There's no point to me of being a dadpreneur and I'm stuck in my office, or I'm on my laptop till 3 a.m. every morning, and I never get to experience life. What is the point of that?
So what's your secret to creating that balance?
Trial and error. In the beginning, you got to pay the bills. So it's you kind of take on what you need to take on to make sure you're doing it, but to be intentional moving forward and not placing more value on somebody else's dream than my own. It's really, I'm willing to help anybody build their thing, but my thing is just as important, and I will not sacrifice it for yours. And so it's having that kind of, I guess you have to resolve that in yourself first, of I'm not just here for other people. I'm here for me too. I'm here for my family. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs where they're so dedicated to their clients and not nearly as dedicated to their own families and their own dreams. That's way out of balance, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I heard Rachel Peterson saying, like, in the beginning, I would say yes to everything. And now I've come to a point saying, like, no. Like, no is going to be my new favorite word. And she didn't say it like that, but more or less, right? Just, no. I got to, now it's time again to really spend extra time with the family and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where balance comes from. What does balance mean to you? Because I had a discussion with my coach about it, and I was saying, like, look, time for time, right? Balance. A lot of people think that balance is time for time. So if I work 3 hours, I should spend time with my kids for 3 hours, with my wife for 3 hours, right? And that's not at all feasible. So explain a little bit for the people that are listening right now. What does balance mean to you?
Well, I would say that version is like an equation and not necessarily balance. Balance, I would say, is if my kids one day need extra attention, I have to have the flexibility to do that. It's not always going to be X for X or Y for Y. It's more of daily needs. And in my opinion, again, my family is more of a priority than any other family. I'm going to sow into them when they need it. Now, obviously, I have responsibilities and obligations, and you have to do that, but you also have to build yourself a situation where if emergencies happen, or if, hey, my daughter's just having a rough day, I'm closing my laptop and I'm taking her, we're just heading out for the day because she needs this right now, and this is going to make way more of an impact on her than any client project that I'm working on. And so I have to, it's taken a long time to kind of get to that point, but it's always been in my mind, that intentionality of I'm building this for my family as the number one priority. And everybody tells me my why is my kids, my wife, my family. But are they putting their why as the number one priority, or is the why just a driving force to do something else? If that makes sense. Because I see a lot of people saying, yes, I do this for my family, but then you don't spend time with them. Like, how is that your why if you're not around them? Your why is to be there, to actually live with them and experience life with them. not for some sweet day. Because for me, I mentioned earlier, I had health challenges. Out of nowhere, I was 36 years old. I'm 40 now. I started having heart problems where my heart or my arteries were constricting the flow of blood to my heart, making it look like I was having heart attacks, even though my arteries and everything were fine.
Oh.
And so I was going through these issues where the doctors didn't know what was going on. I was having these attacks multiple times a day and several times a week, where all of a sudden you're just down in excruciating pain. And it created a situation like, well, this could be it, you know, one of these could not let up and I could just go off and, you know, die. And so it was really helps to shift your perspective of, am I living the way I want to live right now? Am I waiting for some day that may never come? It was kind of a big slap in the face, you know, the cold, wet fish. Hey, let's get life going here. Let's make sure you're not just doing this for some sweet day down the road, but every single day with your family should be a treasure. Every single day with your loved ones should be honored as what it is. And I'm blessed to say that I've been able to create a company. You know, God has blessed me enough to where I can do certain things a certain way and be intentional with the way I want to live. And that's what I encourage everybody. And, you know, that's what I hope to teach people is don't wait. Like, live how you want to live now. As your resources get bigger, you'll live better. You'll do the different things better. It doesn't have to be an overseas trip. It could be a trip to the local state park, you know, but do the stuff you want to do with your family now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. How's your health now, Mitch?
Great. They never really figured out what was going on. It finally just kind of stopped and went away. And so the bonus point is this cardiologist put me through every test imaginable, and I've learned every other part of my body is extremely healthy. And so testing. Oh, that's good. Like, well, soon hopefully this will go away and then I can just be fine.
Well, let's hope that it stays that way. Great to hear, man. Another thing I want to talk to you about, because earlier you mentioned like mistakes, right? You want to have an environment where your kids can feel like they can make mistakes and it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually one of the things that I wouldn't call it struggling, but that we're working with my 6-year-old, right? Our boys are pretty much the same age. I got a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. And a 6-year-old, man, he doesn't like to make mistakes. And now even he has difficulty with trying new stuff, right? So my mother is teaching him how to swim. And today, for example, and I think it was also the day before yesterday, they were, you know, just traveling in the water so that he would just stay in the water, stay afloat. And he tried it 2 days ago and he's like, I can't do this. So he wanted to quit. And then today he tried it for a little bit. I can't do this. I don't want to do this. Right. And if he writes and stuff and he makes mistakes, he gets really, really like upset. Right. So how do you make sure that your kids get that feeling of, look, it's okay to make mistakes. It's fine. Right. And maybe this is 2 questions. Let's start with that one.
To make it feel okay. Well, it's hard as parents, and especially sometimes you can be like, you want them to do something and they do it wrong. You're like, oh no, I need you to do it like this. But trying to limit those moments of where it's a bad thing to make a mistake, instead of, you know, you can create an environment where you laugh about it. It's like, oh, that's so funny. I can't believe I never thought of doing it like that. That's really kind of different, you know, and you can encourage creativity in their mistakes and realize that it's not necessarily wrong. It's just done differently. And I think kind of starting with that type of a mentality of, you know, and I get guilty of this too. Sometimes I need things done and I want it done a certain way. And then you don't do it that certain way. You feel like, oh, now I got to correct you. Well, that's not necessarily the right way, because everybody has a view and they look at things in, you know, every problem and every situation through a different lens. And so I have my oldest daughter. She is super creative, but she's also very, very, very analytical. My second daughter, I tell her she's like a fairy and a butterfly. She's like a living cartoon. She's just happy and go lucky all the time. And her lens is so different than her older sister's lens. And just realizing that what's important to her and the things that she focuses on are totally different than the other person and totally different than what I see and what I think is important. And so understanding, what was the thought process behind something is almost just as important as any result that they're going to get and put out in front of you. Because we have my oldest daughter, she doesn't like to make mistakes. So she practices her handwriting and she does all these different things. And we just have to let her know that it's okay if it doesn't come out perfect. It's just going to take some more practice to figure that out and to make it how she wants to make it. And again, like I was saying earlier, who she is the most important thing. It's not what she's doing. It's just who that she is as a person, to develop that.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's exactly the problem that I'm talking about. Like they're learning how to write, right? And they want it perfect. The other day, and I must say, Mom was right. It was my mistake. They wanted to draw, and on YouTube apparently you got really cool, like draw Mickey Mouse or Spider-Man, and they go step by step. Draw a rocket, right? So a rocket was more for his age, and his brother could do it as well. Spider-Man was just way too hard. Like it was. However, they like Spider-Man, so they wanted to draw Spider-Man, and he just couldn't do it. And that's exactly like with the writing, right? You just can't get that perfect, and then just go. Like he actually just crumpled it up and threw it away, which I've never seen before. Right? It's just like, dude, but it's amazing what you've done. Like it's like I was thinking, like, dude, that was really good. Just couldn't convince him, man. But yeah.
Examples of the different ages, you can also point to like, hey, look at your brother. He doesn't know how to climb as good as you get just because he hasn't practiced, as much as you have. You've done this so many more times. You're so much better than your younger brother, younger sibling. It's easy to kind of throw in little examples like that with their kids of like, you've done this more times, so you're better at it. So the more that you do this, the better you're going to be. Your younger sibling hasn't done it as good as many times. So they're not quite as good at it as you are yet. And it kind of helps to make those connections of like, oh yeah, like that's why I'm better. That's why I can do something and they can't, is because I've done it more.
Exactly. Keep making connections. All right. That's I gotta keep trying that. And stay patient, man. I'm telling you, with this with this heat and them going like that, sometimes it's like I need a couple of extra deep breaths. Plus, right now, my wife's not here. She's got to work. It's tax season for her. So, man, sometimes it's just like I don't know anymore. I think I'm going. Which definitely you can't do because as you mentioned before, it's like we're their example, right? So, man, it's definitely fun. A fun challenge to be Dadpreneur.
Just got to smile every day.
Yeah. I start off with a smile, man. After that, yeah.
So I had a mentor in my life, and he gave me a quote that I live by now. And he told me, excellence is the standard, grace is the word. And it's something that I've kept and held true for so long, is you've got to strive for the best, but realizing you're not going to hit it and you can't beat yourself up for it for so long. You got to throw yourself grace and realize, because if you just pound yourself over the head or you pound your kids over the head because it's not perfect, it's not doing anybody any good.
Exactly. Yep, absolutely. And this is important for both business and family, right? Relationships. So I'm just wondering, man, what's your philosophy in regards to relationships?
Oh, that's a good one. I've always felt a little bit outside of the normal crowds. I tend to kind of get where I don't buy into all of the normal peer pressure kinds of things. I've always kind of had my own beat to life, my own rhythm. It's just now starting to expand as I'm getting more and more people around us that are closer and are really aligned with who we are and what we are. But it took a while to really figure out what that meant for me too. I can't expect somebody else to know that until I know that. And so really diving in and trying that soul searching and figuring out, what do I stand for? What am I going to allow? What are places that, you can have some compromise in, and trying to figure that out before you can extend and let people get in closer to you. In my opinion, until you really figure out those kind of core beliefs that you have, you close yourself off and you build up these walls to where relationships are hard. It's hard for them to be your friend. It's hard for them to be, close and supportive of you because you have this defense system set up all the time. And so really kind of digging in and figuring out, okay, being comfortable in your own skin. This is what I believe. This is who I am. This is how I live my life. And I'm not going to apologize for it. When you can get to a place where you're not defensive, relationships, they turn into a whole different place. People can really start to sow into you, and people can really start to speak life into you, and you can do that for them as well. I'm sure everybody has a friend that's very encouraging, but when you try to encourage them, they don't take it. It's very hard for them to receive encouragement also. And so it's trying to figure out that balance of, I have to allow people into my life as much as I want to give into other people's lives. And sometimes that can be very vulnerable and very, unnerving if you've had bad experiences in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about relationships, man, of course, one of the most important relationships is the relationship we have with our wife, right? You already mentioned like date night's one of the important things. What are some of the other things that, within your relationship to make that relationship grow, you must do?
My wife, Shelby, is involved in everything I do. So business, she's not necessarily an entrepreneur type. Her calling, and she feels like her purpose is to support me, to raise our children, and just to a wife and mother is what her calling is, what she really loves to do and be. And so respecting that and knowing that, but also including her in my decisions and showing her the process and things that I'm going through helps for us to stay on the same page. So if I'm getting stressed about something, or I'm trying to make a program work, or, I just had this event and trying to prepare for everything coming up to this event, if I do it on my own and leave her out of that situation, then I'm taking on an unnecessary burden, and she doesn't quite know exactly what's going on or how to best support or help or speak to me. You can get snippy, you can get short if you're having too much stress and the other person just doesn't know what's going on. So that communication, sitting down and saying, this is what I'm doing, what do you think? I love your ideas. But just really, she was always my best friend. It was always, we were best friends before we were lovers, before we were married, before we were parents. And so kind of going through this progression together has been incredible because we've always been able to just communicate with her, with each other. We've had, everybody has ups and downs in marriages, and we had some bad years where our alignments got off. We start getting selfish, things start happening, what you're not trying to do. And it's to come back to center and to come back and what's really important. This right here, me and my wife's relationship is top priority before my kids' relationship. We have to be right before we can be the right example for our children. And I think a lot of times can get backwards too, where you're so much focused on your kids that you forget about your spouse. And so I always tell my children, my wife comes first, your mom comes first, then you. Like, I will get to you as soon as, your mother and I are taken care of. But that is the top priority.
Exactly. One of the things I noticed, man, and I'm sure you with 4 kids have as well, kids are very resilient, right? And they go to daddy and they ask for something, they can't get it. What do? They go to mommy, right? How do you make sure that there's alignment there in those crucial things that you want in your house to happen in regards to, for example, your values or your beliefs? How do you go about making sure that that's all in alignment with your wife?
Again, we were on the same page. Before we had kids, we talked about having kids, about how we wanted to raise kids, to make sure we had the same ideals. As a young couple dating, and then a young couple married, honeymoon stage, it's different versions. And then as a young couple getting ready to start bringing in a family into the world. And so we always kind of have the same thing, but it doesn't mean that they don't try. They still do it today. Dad, can I have something? They run to mom, and she's like, didn't you just ask your dad? Then don't come to me. And just, if we're a team and we're we're a unit, my wife and I, then the kids know, like, okay, I can't just slide something under the radar. I'm not going to be able to just get away with it because one of them's not looking. Like, it's the same set of eyes no matter what. And I think that's just a super important kind of, to make sure that unity is there, because it is easy to want to try and be the favorite. You want to, I don't want to be the bad guy. I want to be the cool dad, or I want to be the cool mom. But that is so damaging if you don't have that unified front as a parent. You have to come at them and say, no, you're not going to get away with it from me. You're not going to get away with it from your mother. At the same time, I'm going to love on you. She's going to love on you. You're going to get double doses of everything, whether it's discipline or love.
Exactly. Good, man. I appreciate you sharing that. That's just something that popped in my head in between, man, because I see it happening all the time.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't go away.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're struggling these weeks because they can't. But now they figured out that there's Opa and Oma. Opa and Oma means granddad and grandma. So they kind of figured out that if they go to grandpa, then they pretty much can get everything they want. So a lot of times they're like, I want a cookie. I'm like, yeah, not right now. Oh, okay, no problem. And then you hear, Granddad, can we have a cookie? And I hear them. I'm like,
grandparents are totally different, man. They have a whole new set of rules. They can get away with all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, not grandma though. Grandma got some values going on. Look, she's sitting in front of me behind the computer. She's going like, yo.
Yes.
And you can't go around grandma. Grandma's got like we never spoke about like multi-generational legacy, but man, my mom's seriously working on a higher level there. So I got a lot to learn still from her, which is really cool. Anyway, I'm wondering, man, because my business is called Become a Fearless Father, and I'm talking more about to be a fearless father, you gotta have courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And going in the wilderness, man, I'm kind of thinking like, I'm not sure, dude. I got some courage, but there can be some bears out there. There can be some big bears out there. I mean, I saw some videos on the news even that there were bears walking into the city, and I saw them climbing on some fences. I'm like, dude, man, I don't think me and bear are gonna get along. Me and cats don't even get along. Like, I'm being attacked by some cats. So I'm just wondering, man, what's your view on courage, and how have you gone about finding yours? Becoming a dad that needs some courage, becoming an entrepreneur, as you mentioned, like that needs some courage. Knowing that all of a sudden, like your heart, that's got to take some courage to say, look, man, I'm going to change. I'm going to really live life, right? So share a little bit about, man, what's your view on courage, and how do you go about finding it?
Courage, to me, I believe, stems all the way back. A lot of guys have courage because of a purpose, and because they know a direction, they have an idea or a task of what they want to do. But I think even before the purpose comes an identity. You really have to know who you are. Without an identity, your purpose changes, and without a purpose in place, your courage, it's hard to be courageous in something that you're unsure of. And so to really kind of go backwards a little bit, for me, and this is what's been a big part of my business just at Wilderness, is helping men understand who they are at the core level. What is their identity? How did God make you? Once we can start to work on that and come from that foundation, the purpose becomes more clear. And I use an analogy of when you're putting together a puzzle piece, there's inevitably one piece that when you get that in, the rest of the puzzle just seems to come together. There's always this one little missing piece in most people's lives that as soon as you can get it in place, everything else starts to fall into place. And so when I can help a man understand his identity, then we can work on the purpose. And when we can start working on the purpose, we can start looking at leadership. We can start looking at courage. We can start looking at fatherhood. We can start looking at being a husband. And all of these other aspects stem from a foundation of him knowing who he is prior. And it's such I think, an overlooked part, because most people, if you ask them, about a purpose, it's going to be tied to an occupation. It's going to be tied to a task, and not necessarily a vision or like a calling on their life. But when you start, and often I think why so many men feel frustrated or empty inside is because they're looking for a purpose or looking for this thing to do without understanding who they are first.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you just look at like a military structure, if you have a general, his purpose is different because of who he is, his identity in that situation. A brand new soldier has a very different purpose within that time frame because of who he is in that organization or who he is in that situation. And so understanding who you are first will lead you into that purpose, and then being courageous and kind of going after things and being an example becomes easier when you have that solid foundation. You're not guessing as much. You're not just trying to throw mud against the wall and seeing what sticks. There's more intentionality, with that courage that comes along with that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I love that. So let me ask you then, man, what's your system or your process to go through with these guys to find their identity?
I mentioned a term earlier, mental pollution. So as we're growing up, most people have had so much spoken over them, and they were told they were this or they were told they were that. I didn't have a great relationship with my father growing up. He and I just butted heads. We didn't get along. I was told I was all kinds of things. My parents told me growing up, you're not college material, don't even worry. So I never took ACTs, I never took SATs, any of those standardized tests, because I was told for so long that I'm not a person worthy of college. And you start to believe these things, and you start having all of these false ideas about your identity just because of what's been spoken to you. And so by default, that's who you've become. And so it really takes some deprogramming and kind of flushing out the brain of all that mental crap, and letting people know, that just because somebody's view of a situation does not define who you are as a person. And so there's a lot of past hurts. There's a lot of, trauma from younger ages. There's a lot of things that most people have to kind of flesh out and deal with, and realize that it wasn't a defining characteristic of their life. It was just somebody's opinion of a situation. And so really kind of stripping down and realizing, okay, what do you believe about yourself? What have you been told about yourself for your entire life that has ultimately formed this decision-making process that you have? And how does that need to change? What words do you now need to speak about yourself and over yourself and about your wife and about your kids to shift that cycle? Inevitably, everybody's got a saying that we've learned from our parents. They've told us one thing, and, you kind of pick it up. But sometimes we need to shift those negative sayings, those negative stuff, and start to really speak positive in life into ourselves. And so it's a long process, but it always starts with clearing out that mental crap, all that you by default believed just because somebody else told it to you for so long.
When you talk about long, what is that? What are we talking about? Like it's a week of full going in, or are we talking about years? Just so I have an idea.
When I start with guys, I tell them for 90 days, I help you write out some confessions and some things that you speak over your life, and put together this thing where every morning I want you to say these things, and every night before you go to bed. The brain is an incredible thing. I was just learning more about it. And I never went to college, but I was learning about your brain creates these fresh synapses every morning. And every morning it's almost like it's ready to be reprogrammed. And the first thing that you do in the morning, and we've heard about this also, dictates the rest of your day. If you can start your morning off speaking life into yourself and saying some affirming things about yourself, you can literally program your brain for the rest of the day to be on the lookout for the rest of these things. If you start the morning, getting ready and, I'm tired, I'm sick, I don't feel good. And if you're constantly feeding it negativity with those fresh synapses every single morning, then that's what it's firing off all day long. And so it's really kind of creating habits to reprogram your thinking, to reprogram your tongue. That's such a thing as watch what comes out of your mouth. But so much of what goes on for every person is not what comes here, but what you're saying to yourself all day long. And realizing if you can get into that habit of saying, no, I am a great businessman, I am a great father, I am, and really start to get it on a belief level, it helps. But 90 days is kind of a great way. Some people as quick as 30 days, they really start to see changes in their life. For me, when I went through this process, it was about 30 days of doing this every single day and really getting into it and not making it a task, like speaking it out loud, like with some boldness, where you are ministering to yourself when you're doing this. As you're speaking something, you're teaching yourself and you're hearing yourself. And so you're kind of learning it as you're saying it, speaking it out loud. And for us, it started changing our whole dynamic. Marriage was going better. Relationship with children was going better. My business started going way better. just because I'm getting more bold in the fact of who I am at a core.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. When I started with this, the first thing I was trying to really do in the morning, like first thing, get up, walk into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and smile. And man, at the first in the beginning, because you always like this, right? So the first it was like,
Yeah.
but after that, we
Hey.
going on, as I said, except
Making faces. Can you do this one?
you want to make faces? He just wants to. The oldest one just wants to show it. He's changing teeth. Yeah, he lost. Yeah. Okay. Good.
No,
Yeah, that's okay, buddy. But you're the bigger one. You know how to handle the door without making it go bang. Thank you, sweetie. It's okay. Yeah, I know, but that's because you don't. You're the big one. You know how to not make it go bang. Remember?
Bim bam pole culo.
Bim bam por aquí.
What precious kids.
Yeah, wonderful. So yeah, I appreciate it. In regards to courage. We're almost at the end, man, and I'm wondering. You mentioned like, look, really that also.
Yes.
Yeah. Want to go with Omar? Yeah. Okay, come on, I'm running.
Omar to the rescue.
Omar to the rescue. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Anyway, before we end, man, you were tying courage into purpose, right? You were mentioning, okay, like the first thing you got to identify who you are, and then you really try. Then is the next step. It's like, okay, what's your purpose, right? But purpose. Once I found my purpose, it's just like you feel you go to a whole new level, right? And that's what it's all about. Can you share a little bit, like what's that next step? How do you go through with these guys to help them find their purpose? Because it's not. It kind of feels like it's from one day to the next, like boom, there it is, right? But it's not, right? It's a process. So what does that process look like? How can somebody really tap into like, okay, now I know this is my purpose?
At the very, very beginning of our conversation, we talked about energy drains, and we talked about putting your phone on airplane mode because you don't have as much draining from you. In my opinion, in my experience, purpose adds energy to you. You get charged up about something like this. It brings life into you, and it's not something that takes away from your energy and away from your day-to-day, life. And so helping men identify sometimes what is not the purpose is almost as crucial as helping them identify what is a purpose. Because, and I use an example of a job situation, is you can be really good at something and it can suck the life out of you, even though you're really good at it. And because you're good at it, others will put it on you like, this is what you're supposed to be doing because you're so good at it. And you're like, no, I can't breathe once I'm done doing this. It literally just drains me. Of realizing, yeah, I might be talented. I might have giftings in certain areas that may not be my purpose. That may not be what fills me up and helps me to overflow and then ultimately fill up other people. And so helping to identify what is just as important as what is not that purpose. What is it that is just draining your energy so much? And that's a process when you really start, when you haven't gone through this, to identify what are my talents, what are the things that I'm naturally gifted at, but what also brings me to life, what makes me super excited and I can do forever because it gives me so much energy. That's more down the purpose path than just a talent path. And purpose and talent, I think, get crossed way too many times of just because I'm good at it, this must be what I'm meant to do with my life. Like, no, you might have certain talents and giftings, and those will come in useful once you can identify what it is that fills you up to that overflow. So now you can bless other people. Because I can't help others if I'm constantly empty. I can't sow into other people's lives. I can't make a difference if I'm always running on empty. I have to find that thing that fills me to overflow.
True that. Great, man. And we're at the end, people. I mean, this has almost been an hour. We're really close to an hour. So I just want to give you the opportunity, Mitch, for all those dadpreneurs out there that have been listening, that want to get in contact with you, want to follow you. Let me share real quick again. All right. So this is the website that people can go to for sure. What are other good ways to follow you, social media or whatever it is?
Yeah, Facebook. I've got a Facebook page, Just Add Wilderness, and it's like you're just adding water, just add wilderness. LinkedIn, find me, Mitch London, on LinkedIn. I love to connect with everybody, and join us along. We try to, on our page, give lots of inspiring, deep thinking types of content every single day. Nice. So all the photography that I take on there are my pictures that I've taken out on my adventures, and then I'll put some kind of a quote or thought on those and create them. And it's not just a feel-good kind of a thing. We really want you to like think and kind of go through this process and open up new ideas, and not just make everybody la la la. I feel great about myself, but to get in there deep and really start to think about stuff and open stuff up. But yeah, would love to have you guys as a part of what we're doing, and I appreciate you, man, for having me. And what a wonderful thing that you're doing for other fathers and being that example that we talked about.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. And everybody that's watching right now, thank you for joining us. As I said, this link is in the comment section. You can click on it and check it out. And the page and the LinkedIn link will be on the description sections in YouTube and podcast if you're listening or watching, watching the replays. All right, everybody, thanks again. I'll be live again in less than 15 minutes. I hope to see and hear you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.